Hello, today we are going to talk about introduction paragraphs as we continue to prepare for the writing SOL. So, a few things first. When you see stop at the bottom of the screen or somewhere on the screen, this means that after I'm done talking, you want to pause the video and fill in your note sheet for this slide. This means that there's something on this slide that you need to fill in. It will be the bolded word. Okay? So, our four parts of our introduction are the hook, the bridge, the context, and the thesis statement. So we're going to look at some example paragraphs. Now, this paragraph is a little bit more formal. This was done in one of the other classes for part of their project. So you're going to see that this is going to be a little bit more formal than your writing will probably be on the SOL, but you can still get the idea of the parts. Okay? So, regardless of time or place, one thing remains true. Possibility is more appealing than complacency. This simple fact is responsible for nearly every prior scientific experimentation, cultural innovation, and geographic exploration. Therefore, it is no surprise that the human race has become tempted by possibility once more as it contemplates financing the exploration of Mars. Due to the distant study of Mars through the use of photos, machines, and satellites, the presence of life and resources has been deemed likely, making it an area of intense interest for both NASA and the public. Unfortunately, this interest in further, more intimate Mars exploration is unsupported by sufficient funds and confronted by critics who are concerned that the mission would be an environmentally detrimental waste of resources. Although the concern is warranted, it should not overpower the beneficial implications of a new space exploration. For the sake of science, humanity, and politics, NASA should receive the funding to make the mission to Mars a reality because blank, blank, and blank. Okay, so these blanks in the last sentence would become our main ideas, and this would be the points that you would fill in. Okay, so our hook. When you're looking at a hook and you're creating your hook for your composition, you want to be sure to be broad. Okay, so this means to be general. Right? You want to start with something that maybe doesn't obviously relate to your topic, but would work towards introducing your reader to what you're going to talk about. Okay? So your paragraph's focus should really narrow as you go. Your hook should be really wide, and then the focus should get narrower and narrower as you go through. Okay? It should also engage the reader. It should pull your reader in and make them want to read your composition. And finally, it should expand past one sentence. If you're really going to be broad and engaging, you're going to need more than one sentence. Things to avoid in the hook, using rhetorical questions. So we gave you some examples here, like, do you want to be successful in middle school? Do you wish your cafeteria served Chick-fil-A? Of course people are going to say yes to this. Okay, you guys are more sophisticated writers. We may have used this in the past, but we really want to get away from that and avoid using rhetorical questions. Again, you want to avoid limiting your hook to just one sentence. You want it to have more details and really engage your reader. You want to avoid making a statement that does not connect to your topic. Although you want your hook to be broad, you don't want it to be so broad or so unrelated that it doesn't connect to what you're writing about at all. And you also don't want to jump right into your position or topic. Okay? So you don't just want to jump right in and be like, do you wish that you could be more like Salva from A Long Walk to Water? Okay? You need to ease your reader in to answering the question. So here are some possible ideas that you can do. A relatable message. It's a universal message that is relevant to any reader from any time period. And we saw this example in our example paragraph. Okay, so this relatable message would be that possibility is more appealing than complacency, right? Like people wanting to learn things or people wanting to create new things or find new things is better than just being complacent or fine where you are, okay? Another idea for your hook could be a basic human truth. And this is something that would apply to all people. So whether you're a male or a female, whether you're born in, Northern Virginia or Florida or Texas or Montana, regardless of your beliefs, it's something that everyone can relate to. So here's our example. As far back as preschool, children begin dreaming of what they want to be when they grow up. Some children may dream of becoming doctors, accountants, rock stars, or artists. So this is something that everyone can relate to. At one point, everyone was a child, and at some point, we've thought about what we want to be when we grow up. And another idea would be a narrative description. So this is a very short story or scenario that pulls your reader in. So an example, a young girl tilted her head back in the hallway, trying to prevent the tears in her eyes from welling over. She had missed her bus, broken her phone, and failed a test all before third period. Yet upon opening her locker, she couldn't help but smile as she found a note reading, "We all have bad days. Just know that there are only brighter ones ahead." So this was a short story, a short scenario. It was 2 sentences. It's engaging, but it sets the stage for what we're going to write about. So now you want to highlight the hook in this paragraph using your pink highlighter. So the first 2 sentences are our hook. We saw this in our example. Moving on to the bridge. This is a transition that connects your hook to your context. So it's going to connect whatever that engaging first part of your paragraph is to the background. Your bridge should be brief and effective. It should be about 1 sentence, so it should be short and sweet, and it should not mention anything about your topic or your position of what you're going to write about. It should merely connect your hook to your context. So now using your green highlighter, I would like you to highlight the bridge in this paragraph. So the bridge is that next sentence. Therefore, it is no surprise that the human race has become tempted by possibility once more as it contemplates financing the exploration to Mars. So it connects our hook to what is going to be our next part, which is the context. So for this, it's really your background knowledge, and you want to think, what does your reader need to know for the rest of your paper to make sense? So in our example, they talked a little bit about Mars and NASA and exploration because the reader may not know a lot about that. If you're answering a different prompt, you may not need to provide as much context, but you still need to make sure that you have some sort of background knowledge, that your reader knows what you're talking about. You also want to make sure that you're not adding your supporting details in here. You don't want to be listing your reasons why you're taking your position. You don't want to be using quotes or examples. You want to save those for your body paragraphs. This should just be some background knowledge. So using your blue highlighter, go ahead and highlight the context in this paragraph. So our context starts at the word do and goes all the way down to the word exploration. And the fourth and final part of our introduction paragraph is the thesis statement. It is 1 sentence long, and it is our last sentence of our introduction paragraph. And this is probably one of the most important parts of your introduction paragraph because it's the roadmap for your essay. It tells your reader what your position is and lists your supporting details. So you want to take your yellow highlighter and highlight your thesis statement. So that would be our last sentence. For the sake of science, humanity, and politics, NASA should receive the funding to make the mission to Mars a reality because of blank, blank, and blank. Okay? So this thesis statement is set up for a 5-paragraph essay. You are not required to do that. Remember, we want somewhere between 2 and 3, or I'm sorry, 3 to 4 paragraphs for your composition. Okay, so here's an example. What does it take for a person to be successful in blank profession today? Okay, so you're going to highlight the hook of this paragraph. Okay, a hook is the first part. This is that universal truth that we saw in our example. Now we want to highlight the bridge. So highlight the part that connects our hook to our context. Meanwhile, others may dream of becoming lawyers. Now we're going to highlight the context. What is our background in this paragraph? These children likely anticipate a life of justice where they spend days in and out of the courtroom. They probably also look forward to the opportunity to defend the innocent and prosecute the guilty. And finally, we want to highlight our thesis statement. So what is that one sentence that's the last sentence of our paragraph that is the roadmap for our writing? And that would be our last sentence. However, to be successful as a lawyer, people must first do well in school, pass the bar, and gain strong public speaking skills. So as a reader, looking at this thesis statement, I know that this entire paper is going to be about how to be successful as a lawyer. Their first body paragraph is going to talk about doing well in school. Their second body paragraph is going to be about passing the bar, which is the test that you take to become a lawyer. And the third body paragraph would be about gaining strong public speaking skills. So your paragraph on your note sheet should look like this. Here's a third example. When people ask for advice, they sometimes talk to more than one person. Explain why seeking multiple opinions can help someone make a better choice. Use specific details and examples in your response. Now you want to take a minute and highlight the 4 parts of this introduction paragraph. Here we see the highlighted hook, bridge, context, and thesis statement. Okay, so again, reading this thesis statement, I know that advice is beneficial to come from multiple sources. That's what they're going to write about. And I know that the first paragraph is going to talk about that it's good to get multiple sources so you get a well-rounded perspective. And then the second paragraph, body paragraph, will be about promoting original thought. Last example. The ancient Greek storyteller Aesop said, "No act of kindness, no matter how small, is ever wasted." Explain how small acts of kindness can have an impact on others. Use specific details and examples in your response. Again, take a moment to review the paragraph and highlight the 4 parts. And here's what your final paragraph should look like. Again, we see the narrative story, the narrative description as our hook. We have one sentence that is acting as our bridge. We have our context, which is our background about acts of kindness. And then I have my thesis statement. And again, looking at this, I know that acts of kindness promote positivity in the recipient and a sense of fulfillment. So those are what my body paragraphs will be about. Okay, so at this point, you want to get out your tree web. That's that web that has the circles on it and the lines, and you want to plan your writing. I posted our example about comparing ourselves to Naya under our lesson from Thursday when we went over that. So if you want to go back and look and see what we did to refresh your memory of how to plan, you can do that. All right, I will be back in class tomorrow and will help answer any questions that you have about the introduction.